Hello. So now we're going over the second series of the last day of play-ins. UOL from Group B against Supermassive from Group A. So yeah, really excited. These teams were really popping off. And yeah, this is a best of 5 between two wildcard regions. The CIS and the Turkish League are really on the precipice of moving to the next stage, right? Reaching this new level of not really wildcard, but not major region. Um, yes, there are still many steps they need to take, but moving into groups is a major step for them, right? The CIS often also close, and the Turkish league often really well performing, but then having some bad luck in the best of 5 series, right? Getting seeded into some Chinese and Korean teams. Anyway, going into game one, it's again Malphite time. He does well in the 1v1 against top. Again, AP farming junglers, Galio for supermassive. So we see more team fighting and roaming. And Zoe, is more for skirmishes in the jungle. Twitch versus Misfortune. Also, for the laning phase, Misfortune really wins here. But it also underlines more the focus of these teams. Malphite, Gallium, Misfortune, really core pieces for a team-wide comp. And Twitch, Zoe, this is more for like getting picks and skirmishes. Kakao was able to get a really good early game lead. Smart rotations, but UOL counters that, moves as a team, 4-man invade into his red respawn. Taking that, just trading it for a plate in bot lane. UOL also is able to get some flashes. This turns the jungle dynamic completely around. Now Hanjek is in the lead in farm, setting Kakao behind a bit. Both teams trade neutrals, and the Herald is used in top lane. So then Gadges and Santanas are looking for a pick on side node, getting his flash. But then Supermassive with an insta double TP, punishing that move, getting a kill. The kill is not that important, but I think it's really cool. It highlights their commitment and heads up communication as a team to insta double TP on this and then punish the play of UOL. Something like this. We were able to see that in many cases by Armut in past series. So good to see that is still a factor in their games. Though at the fight at the second Drake, Nidalee is able to steal it, but the fight ends in a 5-for-2 favor for UOL. And sadly the Twitch gets 3 kills and ends up at a 3-1-1. So UOL now look really strong if they are able to push their fights and can now play more aggressively into the enemy jungle using their skirmish style of champions. So Gadget with his friends picks up 2 more kills in bot lane, ending with 5 1-1, and Nidalee also gets Herald. So Supermassive now is in a 5k hold against a Twitch where they have some options to get to him, but the multiple threats of UOL still look difficult to deal with. At the second Drake for UOL, SUP is actually able to lose to trade 2-for-1, but still losing the Drake. So now Soul Point is enabled for UOL. Supermassive often not able to get on Twitch in following skirmishes and team fights, falling further behind. 8k gold lead for UOL and even a Baron. At deciding Soul, third Drake, right before Soul for UOL. Supermassive is actually like nearly the only time in the game able to punish the flashless Gadget, but as I mentioned before, even if Gadget dies, there are other threats in UOL's comp. As such, they win the team fight regardless. Even lingering around, so UOL is picking up the stragglers afterwards. So yeah, it shows even in game 1 at the end, Supermassive was a bit lost and a bit confused of what they should do. Yeah, 15 to 8 kills, 10k lead. UOL just ahead of Supermassive, like so much. Supermassive though, even though they're a bit thrown under the bus, they're not surrendering, looking for fights, even able to get Twitch in some with like all-inning on him, flash ulting from like 2 to 3 people. But yeah, they're not one-shotting him. Twitch gets up some damage, and as I mentioned before, the other damage threats are like way too relevant. And so yeah, they are losing turrets and their lives in the end of many fights. After UOL takes their second Baron in the game, they're just running it down. The base of Supermassive was already cracked at further moments in the game. So yeah, a game 1 lead for UOL. So yeah, in game 2 we see similar stuff in the draft. 2 mid-game brawlers in top lane, then again farming junglers. But yeah, late game champions in mid game, Azir for team fighting, and Kassadin for like more split pushing, and then later when he's really fed he can team fight. Bot lane we see interesting stuff. Senna against Ziggs, both are scaling, but Ziggs is a really smart pick here. He is the only source of reliable wave clear for their team, so they're not getting completely sieged down. Also, he enables more poke and can soften up the targets for Kassadin to go in. Kakao has a really pop-off start, gets an early invade, and with Armwood covering for him as defense, he's able to steal 3 camps and get a huge tempo advantage in the jungle, invading again and again, getting all the crabs, defending his camps. Overall, really smart play. It enables him to get a 3-level lead in minute 7, having 38 CS more and having a finished jungle item, the finished Runic Echo, against a Talisman and Hunter's Knife for Ananashek. So Kakao showing that he wants to go to group stage, putting on his carry pants on the Bambi. With this huge tempo advantage, he's pressuring lanes and is also able to get the neutral objectives, the Herald and the first Drake. So this all comes crashing down. In minute 10, Anarchik is looking for a Raptor invade, which is rather greedy. Supermassive wants to punish it, but they're overextending way too much, pushing into the jungle of the enemy team, and then getting collapsed with TPs coming from multiple enemies and the bot lane roaming up. Yeah, it ends up in a ace, traded for 2 kills for Supermassive, but the main focus is 3 kills go on the Kassadin, and he has a 1.9k gold lead over Azir. And yeah, whole of Kakao's hard work is mindered. The Graves was able to get 4 assists and now is only 900 gold behind. Overall, a 2k gold lead was established for UOL after just this one fight. Yeah, really sad to see Kakao lose all his lead by this team mistake. And yeah, Kassadin with 3 kills against Azir. This is a real problem for Supermassive. Though they're not slowing down, getting the second Drake, using Herald in mid. But yeah, these Herald rotations against the Ziggs team is yeah, you don't expect it, but because you're not actively thinking about it in many cases. But yeah, Ziggs with his passive and W is able to shred turrets. So while Supermassive is just able to get some turret plates mid lane with the Herald, Ziggs is actually able to get the complete turret. Yeah, and this is extending their lead to 3,000. Yeah, Supermassive not going up, giving up, and further fighting again, going for Herald number 2, again losing Herald, losing 2 lives. Supermassive has no real item completed in 17 minutes. Yeah, it's a disaster, and yeah, it's just the second game, so I'm not really understanding why they were so desperate to seek these fights again and again. They are actually able to get a pick on boss, thinking they can now like secure the Drake to hinder the soul. But this ended in a complete disaster. They were not able to get the Drake. They were just standing around there because the UOL was defending it, threatening and engage. And with the death timer still being so low, boss flank TP'd. And yeah, Supermassive was aced again. 4K lead now for the way scaling team. And Kassadin getting further and further ahead in the game, being a complete monster. On the other side, yeah, Graves now just 1 level behind and 40 CS. Kakao's lead means nothing, especially in the face of a 4-1, 5-1 to Kassadin and a 3-0-6 Ziggs. Yeah, it's really a disaster. Armut, the Wukong, was only able to get his Trinity Force first item in the 22nd minute. Boss, on the other hand, at that point had 2 items, the Blade of the Rune King and Black Cleaver. So yeah, not only the Kassadin, but all of UOL was getting on the ride. And yeah, they were riding over Supermassive. Supermassive giving up UOL's next Drake, and they are trying to get on a pick, but getting a pick on boss in the bot lane. They even got him, but yeah, all of UOL moved downwards, TPing, and yeah, Kassadin died in the fight, but Supermassive got aced again. Gadget now has 25 stacks on his Magi's, and yeah, he showed us off by QR one-shotting the Azir. So yeah, Kassadin was a threat, and he is, but as I said before, all the other lanes are now heavily losing again as well. Kakao at this point probably wasn't ahead in gold anymore. And at the end he was even down leveling in level. Yeah, showed how much laners matter, especially if it's a if it's a champion like Kassadin. UL gets then Kassadin at to level 16. So yeah, Kassadin even stronger. Then they take Baron, prepare for their third Infernal. As I said before, Supermassive was able to get the first 2 Drakes, but afterwards UL getting 3 Infernals in a row, even amplifying the damage from Kassadin and Ziggs. Yeah, 9k gold lead in 30 minutes. And then yeah, they are pushing it, right? A Baron, Ziggs, UL is completely able to demolish Supermassive Spades. And yeah, winning a last team fight in mid lane. and finishing the game. Yeah, really devastating for the morale of Supermassive, like having such a great lead and then like losing it in one fight, and afterwards they had no control over the game. And yeah, it's really devastating for the morale. So, and this is not great, especially now a match point game for UOL, game 3, going for a Vayne mid or Nomads. Yeah, this is a bit of, of a stretch, right? A total 80 comp, just with the true damage from Vayne and the AP Nidalee, against all the tanks of Supermassive's team. This could, yeah, this could end up really bad, but yeah, Supermassive with their teamfight comps sadly only have one really real damage threat, which is Zeitnot's Caitlyn. UOL with Vayne mid lane, the Nidalee, and the AD carry, and and others have multiple threats, looking again for more skirmish fights in jungles. And yeah, even though they look for skirmishes, they still have the late game potential of the Vayne. So yeah, both team comps again look for quite different but similar things at different stages in the game. Mid game rather slow. Okay, first blood in the 8th minute. It's not that slow, right? It's not as slow as the LGD game series. But yeah, UOL first blood and Herald after mid game face off. Just a few minutes later, boss is actually able to solo kill Armut. Yeah, and this shows the whole series. It's just Supermassive is playing way worse than what we have seen from them. Maybe it's because UL is just so good, but Armut, their star player more or less, always popping off in these games, being solo killed. Yeah, it's not really dramatic, right? But it just shows how everything is standing on their heads for Supermassive. Nothing is working out in this entire series. Overall, UOL getting some picks and plates here and there, establishing a 2.5k lead. Yeah, not that cool. Thinking about a Vayne with an early game lead, right? Supermassive getting more desperate and desperate, trying to find answers to these lane setups and to punish especially the Vayne. But they're not able to find much in the early game. They're unrelenting though, not giving up and looking for plays further and further, even though they're not working all that well. They find it 2-for-1 in the bot lane, and yeah, even able to trade a turret for the Drake. So they're not giving up and are still able to make some trades, even though they're not really going in their favor all that much. The slow and steady play of UOL is able to be punished here and there, but UOL getting more CS, getting more vision, more pressure, pushing down the line of attack into the jungle of Supermassive, and yeah, securing all the outer turrets, and yeah, a 6k gold lead in 21 minutes. It looks a bit doomed already. Yeah, also securing some drakes here and there. Third Drake for Supermassive, they have used multiple flanks and engages, but without really a reliable ability to lock down the carries of UL. They just get killed off, resulting in an even larger lead and the Baron for UL. Supermassive growing more desperate and more desperate. They are now grasping at straws, looking for picks, while their inhibs are dying, their base in shambles, but UL are overextending in the bot lane and are killed. Doesn't matter though, 7k gold lead for the enemy team. Then with the Soul Drake shortly spawning afterwards, Supermassive is looking for a final saving team fight, but no miracle is happening, and yeah, they lose the 3 lives and the soul. Massive deficit in all aspects of the game. Unicorns of Love looking for a final Baron to finish the game. Supermassive with their members respawning. Again, they give it their all, looking for a fight, go in, getting even into the backline, but boss zoning the Caitlyn, the main damage source, enables the carries of UOL to survive the dive, and then turn and in return, deal the damage to completely eviscerate Supermassive from the map. A final ace is happening, and UOL is winning the game, and the series is 3-0. MVPs for these games. Game number 1, it has to go to Gadget, even though the rest of the team was helping him. In the end, he was the one succeeding, dealing the damage and positioning safely, flashing some Malphite ults in some cases. Overall, good game. He was really good or solid in most games, but in the later two, it was Nomas with his performances on champions like Khazadin. Really popping off, really dealing the damage, and being a nuisance for Supermassive and carrying his team. So he's also the overall series MVP. I feel if these games were played on a different day, Supermassive might have won a game or two. It seems they were really exhausted after the 5-game series yesterday. Having shown many of their strategies and secret picks. So UOL was not surprised by something like the Malphite. So yeah, I think Supermassive could have had a chance in some cases. I mean, Kakao was smurfing on another chick in many jungle 1v1s. But the lane gaps, Bulululu, often on tank duty, was punished by Nomads. And overall the team fights of UOL were so well coordinated, and even though Supermassive was trying to distract them and throw them in disarray with flanks, UOL was standing strong and pushing against it. Then with now LGD and UOL winning both series 3-0, we actually see that Group B was in fact really fucking stacked. PSG at the end making it directly through Worlds, UOL now winning as the second seed against the third seed of Group A, and LGD as the fourth seed winning against the second seed of Group A. 3 teams out of this group, so 3 out of 5 teams out of Group B make it into the World's group stage. So Group B was really stacked, and Group A was a bit underperforming maybe. Afterwards, with now plays having finally concluded, the teams were seeded into the main event. TL will be moving into Group A, PSG into Group B, LGD, as they were always confirmed, to move into Group C, and UOL finally rounding up in Group D. TL in Group A is what we expected. Same with LGD and C. So I'm not talking too much about it, as I already did in some predict videos. TL showing expected performance in the playing stage. They were dropping a game, but overall they should do fine. But with PSG's great performance, we might have to look at Machi again, and maybe Machi can actually do something against TL. Machi are the first seed team from this region, and if PSG as a second seed was doing that good, maybe they're doing even greater. But for PSG also, we have to keep in mind their hard carries Kongyun and Uniboy are not with them anymore. River and Tank have moved into the roster again, after the visa issues. So we are going to see a completely new team, which is going to be exciting. I mean, in Group B, we are not expecting them to move to get out of the group, but yeah, there are chances to get games over Rogue. This is something that could be really interesting. LGD in Group C, even if they are now coming through. The best of one format in the group stages of playing was not going too well for them, and Worlds groups will continue with the best of one format. So yeah, maybe their weaknesses will show up again. But after seeing these best of three, two best of fives, where they won 6-0 in total now, I am more confident in them again. Not sure if they can get these OP picks again and again. So maybe they're not going to make it out of groups, but yeah, seeing how they were able to pick themselves up again after these crushing defeats, and especially the pressure from all the social media, yeah, the team looks promising again. I'm not imagining them going to beat Genji, but yeah, I think they can have some good games against Fnatic and TSM. UOL, similar situation with PSG. They have little chance with TS and Dragon X in the same group, but honestly, I think they can beat FlyQuest. I mean, UOL with their crazy drafts, their team play is also really good. Also, their laning is not that bad, it's quite solid. They can do it. They can get third. But yeah, we haven't seen FlyQuest in a while, so maybe they have improved after the World Finals. Lastly, remember in a few hours, depending on where you're living and when you're watching this, pick'ems will be available. So lock in your predictions and yeah, hopefully win some stuff. So that's it. Playing's now concluded. We will see each other in a few days with the groups tournament. But before that, I will do a play-in recap in terms of picks and player statistics. So look forward to that. Anyway, that's it. And yeah, have a great day and see you around.